And while we were trying to get check in on the kiosk, we were told that we couldn't check in that way. We had to go to a certain desk. So when we got to the certain desk, we were asked if we had our PDLs, which of course we had no idea, and if we had the QR code for that, and we had no idea what that was either. So what happened was we had to pull over, and the place was packed, and hang out in the corner and fill out forms online. And then you get, after you fill out the form, you submit it, and you get back a QR code in an email, in the form of an email, which permits you to travel around the European Union. You have to state whether or not you had your vaccination, where you live, emergency number, who's traveling with you. You only have to do one per party, and then you're good to go. But it takes around a half an hour to fill out the form on a telephone, because every time you get to country, you're scrolling through every other country in the world until you get to the United States. Because it's so screwy. You can't just type in a U and it comes up United States. Oh, I'm telling you, every day is a new adventure post-COVID. But we made the flight and everything is fine, so we're looking forward to our trip. Talk later. Bye. Sedile davanti a voi o nelle cappelliere. Se siete seduti in una velocità di emergenza, vi preghiamo di leggere il cartoncino che si trova nella tasca del vostro sedile. Beautiful landing. Hey, Pukito. You happy to be in Italy? Every year in our town, we have a contest for the artwork made out of natural materials. Not a contest, but an exhibition. And the art, I think the rule is the art must be taken from natural materials. And it's usually spread around the domain around here as on the walking paths and the local monuments. This chapel is from the 1860s. That was an older artwork, but it fell down. It's still there though. It looks like a man hoeing or sowing seeds or something, but he was standing up before. This little structure here is actually the ruins of an old house, probably quite like that one. But it was a little too far gone to restore, so what they ended up doing is just making it into a nice little meditative garden behind their house. To me it looks like some sort of a miniature Stonehenge kind of thing. I really dig it. So we got here yesterday night. We drove from Italy, from Milan to Turin. We took a bus. Then we got off the bus and carried all our luggage 3 blocks to a park. I thought I was gonna die. It was hot and the luggage is heavy. I had a lot of stuff that I wanted to bring out here. And then we hung around this little neighborhood park for about an hour, and then Tino's sister came and picked us up with the car. We took a tour around this little park. It was like a square but with grass. And there was a market all around the perimeter. And we bought some prosciutto, cheese, bread, tomatoes and apricots. And we took them home to make a sandwich for yesterday evening. But we didn't eat anything here last night. We ended up going to our neighbors for a barbecue. While we were waiting for Tino's sister at the park, I met these all these neighborhood people who were hanging out there with their dogs and their complaints, and everybody was fooling around. And one of the gentlemen had breadcrumbs, and he was feeding this bird. I looked it up. It's called a hooded crow, but he called it Berta. But I guess that was his name for the bird. And he showed me photographs of that bird on his couch in his living room. He said that when he leaves the window open, the bird flies in and just makes himself at home. And I spoke to another lady. She had a little white dog too. She wanted to know where we were from. They were all oldsters, and they were all talking to each other. It's like they probably come to that park between the hours of 11 and 3 o'clock every day, And they all seemed to know each other's stories. It was pretty interesting. So then we got in the car, we went to Turin, and we had a great lunch in a nice outdoor cafe that was underneath an arcade. So it was pretty cool. And we continued on, ended up in our town at about 6:30. And then we were invited for a barbecue. We went there and stayed out until 11. Since I'd only gotten about 2 hours sleep on the plane the night before, I was ready to go to bed. But then we started trying to fool around with the camera and try and take pictures of the stars. But I've never done any night shooting at all, so I have to look that up. Nothing came out with any consequence. So today we got up at 10 o'clock and we've been working around the house, especially Tino. He's been doing a lot of weed whacking because we haven't been here since July of last year. As a matter of fact, he wasn't here last year. He was locked down in New York, and I was in confinement here in France. It's a long story. That's where we're at just right now. I hope I can edit this fast so I can at least... section of our little town, 5 little hamlets. We are the third up from the top, and below us there are 2. This is kind of the high point of the hamlet. There's a little chapel here called St. Agatha. It doesn't have any historical significance, but the church of St. Stephen, which is just down the hill here, was actually a pretty important church. And it was constructed in the 1700s, but after it had been being constructed upon church upon church upon church, and the archbishop who was in charge of the church was actually a pretty important member of the clergy who was into tolerance of Protestantism, and he wrote a bunch of articles and texts about getting along with other Christians who aren't necessarily Catholic. Up there, they're doing the hay up on the hill. It used to be like 5 or 6 members of a family raking and piling up the haystacks over a course of a week, but now they could do it in an hour or 2 and roll it up into balls, all with 2 bales, all with 2 machines. Local farmers around here contribute to the cheese factory with their cows, and hoard the hay in the winter to feed them.
Let's get out of here.
You want to go? Are you ready to go shopping?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. See you later.